Greetings, creatives. My name is Griffin, and today I'm going to help you to refine your work via self-reference.
Clouderbowl.
A lot of creatives tend to rely heavily on an inspiration-based approach, one where inspiration finds you more than you sort of drive towards it. Now, this can be an exhilarating way to approach the process. Pulling every thread you find, hoping to find something interesting on the far end of it, sometimes pays off. Scrolling through an endless wall of reference material for whatever your creative style is sometimes pays off. But the scattershot approach doesn't tend to allow you to build upon your own work. So I'm going to provide a different approach from a psychology-informed angle that is going to be more conceptual and more about where you get your ideas from. However, if you want help with the technical and/or material approaches to your process, there's a recent video by Telekinetic Maniac that is rooted in cosplay, but the advice and reasoning can apply across all creative processes. Hopefully it's popped up on your screen right now, but if not, there is a link in the video notes. So now I'm going to walk you through my process of dissecting my own work to sort of drive towards an approach. Now, the first step is to have an idea book. If your creativity is illustration, it's obviously your sketchbook. If it is writing, then you probably have a notes app that keeps little thoughts that drift through your head that you think might be good pieces of dialogue or might be good scene settings. If your creativity is cooking, then you probably have a series of food combinations that may be worth trying out. Now, these stray thoughts are often collected and then forgotten about. People tend to only use these processes when they have an idea that they can't actionably engage with at the time, so they're looking for some place to make sure it's stored. Often, when the person is trying to sit down and do the work or compose something, they forget it exists. With illustration, you are often drilled on making sure that you have your sketchbook at all times and really using it as a reference. However, most people I know, when they fill a sketchbook, it ends up on a shelf or in a drawer, and they move on to the next one. As you can see on screen, I have this sketchbook that is just about full, and as I am sure is going to bother some of you, I am now going through the steps of destroying it. I am literally tearing it apart, breaking the seams, peeling out pages one by one, and I am organizing them into 3 piles. Pages with no inspiration go in one pile that's straight to the trash. Pages that have partial use information, things that are kind of interesting but don't really have a complete idea yet, those go in pile 2. And then pile 3 is either solid ideas or complete compositions that I didn't remember I had. Now, usually, the trash pile is going to be the biggest. If you have a 32-page sketchbook, you're maybe going to have 20 pages that are going in the trash, 8 pages that are going to go into the fragments pile, and 4 pages that are going to go into the, oh, this is a really good idea pile. So, once you have these piles, you are now going to do 2 different things. Now, I'm obviously using illustration as a visual representation, but you can do this with writing, with music composition, joke lineups, whatever creation format you express yourself through, that then you're going to want to try to figure out what else you have that works with that theme. So sometimes that means you're going to look through the partial ideas and see a few of them that can come together to something useful. Something that kind of comes together into a complete idea once you realize that there's a unifying pattern. Other times you're going to have something from the completed idea pile that the fragments can improve or inform. It's kind of your job here to go through and look for common repeating themes, common repeating objects, and basically draw off fragments of your past inspiration to create a more cohesive idea in the moment, giving you something really tangible to grasp onto. So from this deconstruction, I have collected 1 or 2 pieces that I'm holding on to, I think, just to give to other people. One's a portrait of someone I know, one's a live sketch of some musicians I know who are performing outside somewhere. Some of these I might recreate on a larger format, but I'm not sure yet. They're not really inspiring me, but they are complete ideas. But in the fragments, I have noticed something. There is a sort of theme that when I was sitting down to try to think of what to create, I didn't remember that I had already sort of played with. This ghostly bird figure. I've sketched it 2 different times in the same sketchbook. I have other sketches that feature rooks. There's something here. So I'm going to play with this a little bit, kind of think more on that theme, that image, what that represents, and ways it can be used. Once I have that, I'm going to work up some sketches and build off of this thing that I already had in me, but couldn't find when I was actually looking for it. So the rest of the video on this video is going to be a time-lapse of the new painting that I made based on these partial fragments of inspiration that I had previously tinkered with and not recalled. And I'm pretty happy with the way everything comes out. I'm actually really, really proud of this piece, and I think I'm going to make it prints for some upcoming conventions I'm going to be tabling at. In a couple weeks, I'm at Mohegan Sun for Terrificon, and then at Boston Fan Expo. So now I have something new to feature. But here's the thing. Had I not been willing to dig through my old work looking for inspiration instead of just sitting around wondering what I should make, I would not have likely remembered this. So I've basically created this system of collection, curation, amalgamation, and then reconstruction as a method of funneling my own ideas back to myself so I can build off of it, build a style, build a sort of creative structure that my work lives within. And until I started doing it this way, it was basically whatever random thought I had, I would latch onto and hope I could execute, and half the time I would end up throwing away an 8x10 or an 11x14 because I was sort of feeling it out in the moment with no real plan, no real idea of what I was trying to execute. But now that I work in the sketchbook first and build random ideas there and then filter them through this curating, joining process, it works a lot better. I've been doing something similar with my cooking. I love to cook, and I'm always working with new recipes. So if I notice a good pairing, I mark it down. Some combination of spices with a specific type of food, a couple of vegetables that seem to work really well together, but I'm always trying to build off my own work. I'm always trying to take any sort of expression I have and getting all the little specks and fragments from everywhere else and bringing them together into something that I can make bigger than what it was. Now, if you have not been doing any sort of note-taking or keeping track of your random thoughts of partial inspiration, this is going to take a while before you see the results of this, because you have to start with the collection. You have to start by taking those fragmented thoughts that you have over the course of a week, of a month, keep those someplace where you can go through them later and see where they fit. David Bowie famously had a technique where lyrics were chopped up and then rearranged until it made a more interesting composition. All the same ideas were there, but the order that they were presented in wasn't necessarily best in the order it was originally written. And if you happen to have old work from when you were younger, dig through that. The goal is to take ideas that you've already had and cross-reference and re-examine them in new contexts with other ideas that you've had to see if you can build something that is more than the sum of those parts. And if you aren't comfortable actually destroying the works in sketchbooks or notebooks while you're doing this stuff, you can just, photograph things together that jump out at you and then rearrange them in that way. You can transcribe them onto into a different notebook in collected groups. There's other ways to approach the exact process. I just like the permanence of sort of taking things apart. But at the end of the day, the goal is to tap more of yourself for your inspirations, for your own creativity. Mine that. Feed off of that. The more outward you look for inspiration, the less of your own voice you're going to find in your own work. In my opinion. Educated opinion, but in my opinion. In any case, I hope this was helpful. Don't forget to go check out Telekinetic Maniac's video for a more hands-on tutorial about how to handle and manage your materials and expectations thereof. And until next time, stay thoughtful, stay playful, and keep creating.